we're going to be talking about if the Zelda movie will actually do more harm than good.
Be careful what they wish for. As the saying goes, we're finally getting the Zelda movie, which maybe some people have been hoping for a long time, but we've got a couple specific little details that we're going to be looking at, some hand grenades.
Oh boy.
Just see what might happen with those.
Yes, definitely it's going to be a situation where it's Nintendo versus the very, very passionate Zelda fans in the ultimate showdown with this movie. We're going to get into that in a second. But before that, we want to send a big thank you out to our wonderful Patreon family for making all of this possible. We are actually recording our very first episode of the Kit and Krysta podcast in our new studio
Check it
space.
out.
Oh my gosh, it feels like a little bit surreal, honestly, to be doing this. And I keep thinking back to the tiny little spare bedroom where we started this whole adventure. And because of all of our wonderful Patreon subscribers, we're able to move on up, baby, to a new studio. And we feel great.
Yeah, they're the ones who have made this possible.
Yes.
It's wonderful. We love it. We frantically moved in last week.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of our great Patreon subscribers for making this possible and making our dream a reality.
Exactly. It means the world to us. If you'd like to support us, we're at patreon.com/Kit and Krysta.
Speaking of the new studio, though, we do have a video out on the channel.
We do.
A little vlog of moving out of the old place, moving in to the new place.
Mm-hmm.
When at the end of last week, I could not believe that we had only moved out of there that previous Monday.
I know.
And it had been less than a week here.
It's true. We frantically did move, but we also, I feel like you and I both just felt like immediately very at home here in our new studio space. And that is a good sign, obviously. And we just, I think we just felt like this was totally the right place for us to be. And we're just so excited to be in our new space. Now we have room to spread out. And the whole point is that we want to make more content for all of you. We have some really specific challenges that we were facing before we got our space of our own, where, for example, you and I could not stream in the same place, which was like really annoying. Now we can do that.
Now we can.
So yes, so we're hoping that this means even more cool things we get to make for you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Some other cool stuff on the channel. Speaking of vidges. We have a great Super Kit and Krysta 64 where we went hunting for street passes.
Yes, we tried to answer the age-old question of can you get a street pass in 2023? We asked ourselves the same question in 2022. Unfortunately, the answer was no in 2022.
Didn't happen then.
This time, though, we got smart. We're like, let's go to a place where we would have like a higher likelihood of running into somebody that was still carrying a 3DS around. So we went to San Francisco's Japantown, which is actually just a really cool place to visit. There's tons of like little nooks and crannies, gaming and other sort of retro-y little stores. There's a really cool bookstore that we really like. There's good food there. So we were like, this might be a place where we finally find one, like out in the wild. So you have to watch the video to find out if we did or not, but we thought that was a good place to at least give it a try.
One of our Patreon folks did have a good idea because we say, we're not gonna do a video like this at PAX because it's too easy. Of course, we'll get a street pass there, but they did say like, could you guesstimate, like when there's like how many things are in this jar?
How many jelly beans are in the jar?
How many street passes would you get over the course of a PAX? That's a fun new way for you to lose, basically.
Oh.
For you to lose.
What
and
if
for me
I'm
to
good
win.
at guesstimations?
You're not.
Not estimations, though.
Guesstimations.
Just the guesstimations.
It's more fun that way.
Yes.
Yes. Estimations like how much you're going to pay in taxes.
I know.
Guesstimations, how many jelly beans are in the jar. Right. That's fun. The other one, not so fun.
Not the taxes part. But yes, we should do that the next PAX. That's a great idea. Yeah, I think we can. I can sway the results by calling in some street pass friends of mine to pass me to the number.
You have secret street pass friends?
Yeah, you don't.
They're not secret. I'm very out and open about my friends, all of them, no matter what. You've got hidden friends because you're ashamed of them. Okay, got it. Cool.
They want
Bad look for you.
It's like the Shadow League of Street Passes.
Whatever. That video is out. Speaking of the streaming, so we're getting the streaming setup all going.
Yes.
We did do 2 more installments of our Mario RPG full playthrough.
Right.
Those are out. You should check them out. We're getting close.
Oh my gosh.
We're getting close. Are we going to finish the game by the time the remake comes out? I don't know. Maybe that was never the goal to begin with, even though we said it was. Maybe it wasn't.
You're really backpedaling on this.
Maybe that was just a little inside joke that we had. I don't know.
I still don't know who Mallow is. There's a lot of things I don't know.
You missed the pivotal installment
I'm so glad.
where we learned Mallow's origin.
I did promise all of you that I would be the first to play the remake on stream, so I have to hold myself to that.
Oh,
so when we do the first look, it's going to be me, in the words of Justin Bieber.
Well, we saw you
Or
play...
not Justin Timberlake.
Okay, I mean, we saw you playing a little bit in these videos.
And I did great.
And it wasn't great.
What do you mean I did so well? I was excellent.
It is hard to come in midway and know the timing for all the
But I figured it
attacks and the defending and all of that.
I thought we did pretty good.
We did.
Why did you start this off so disparagingly of me? Why would you do that?
I gotta put on a happy face.
I thought it was pretty fun. I had fun. I had a good time. Yes, that one is. We are 5 stars deep now, huh? We only have 2 more to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Zelda movie, we did do a reaction also to that news right when it came out. This is Miyamoto.
This is Miyamoto.
This is a reaction video. We did that. Maybe we should do all of our social media just like, this is Krysta, this is Kit. Just start it that way.
This is Krysta.
Or you know, sometimes with like a customer service, they'll put like the initials at the end.
K-E?
Maybe we should do that. I mean, it's kind of no point because you actually don't do anything on social media.
You can just put KK.
Yeah.
Like
K and K?
K and K for everything? Oh, that's so annoying.
You don't know real fast.
This is Kit and Krysta.
Yeah.
On today's episode,
still us. We're still here.
Is still Kit and Krysta.
All right, maybe that's not the best.
This is Miyamoto, though.
But that could be a good warm-up to this here big discussion that we're about to have.
Yeah, because of course we put out that video. We got a lot of comments from all of you, which got us thinking about this topic.
It's true. That is kind of the reason why we are doing this big topic in the podcast was reading through some of the reactions on our video and just in
really
general that day.
Yeah, it's definitely polarizing, I think.
Yeah. All right, we are just about to start that conversation, but first, we have to thank our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We're getting close to the end of the year, which can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
I am one of the people who, even when you start to get close to Christmas, gets a little bit sad.
You get like the post-Christmas
blues because I love
early.
Christmas so much. It's natural to start to think like, oh, this is going to be ending soon. This is going to be back to normal, boring stuff.
In the first part of the year,
podcasting with Krista. Ugh.
Hey,
jeez.
I put the sparkle in your life.
But I do get sad.
Yeah, I do understand that, and I think the holidays is very bittersweet for a lot of people. You know, of course, we have great memories of this time of year. All of us do, but there's also, you know, maybe some not so great memories and you know, seasonal blues or
could be stresses of dealing with family who kind of come out and expectations around that. So these are all examples of things where therapy can be a bright spot amid, you know, what can be either a very exciting but also a very challenging time too.
Yeah, it definitely gives you tools to manage everything that's going on with how you're feeling and can make you feel more grounded as well.
Yeah, and it's something that we have been doing. It is very easy to get matched up with a therapist. You do a brief questionnaire, and then you can meet with them on video, you can meet with them on audio, you can even do it on text only. You're entirely in control of what those interactions look like. And
while you're busy during the holiday season, this is a great way to have a very flexible way to be able to engage with your therapist.
Yeah. So find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Kit and Krysta today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kit and Krysta.
We'll put the link right over here and also in the description below.
Yes.
All right.
All right, Zelda movie.
Yes.
Let's have this talk.
Yes. We have a couple of topics that we want to get into. And again, this was a lot of comments that we were reading, you know, from the different reaction videos that were coming out, the news of last week. And just, I think people are very passionate about what their
as they should be.
What their expectations are for this movie, and that could just be some major landmines, you know, for Nintendo that they might And you guys know how Nintendo is. They're very like, we just do our own thing, like we don't care. But these landmines can be really bad in terms of like how fans will react and how the brand will sustain this kind of conversation. Now
that we are past it, the Mario movie really was a perfect first project for them to get into movies. There were some rocky moments along the way, all the Chris Pratt hijinks, that was definitely a big one for us all to get past. But in the end, it all worked out, I think. Right. They had a perfect partner in Illumination, who I think they really shared a great creative vision with, who had a very good track record, who could be kind of an equal eye-to-eye partner with Mr. Miyamoto and everybody else in bringing this to life.
Right.
They had the Mario series, which is in some ways a bit of a blank slate for a movie, because it's
story-wise, there's not really a story that exists. Yeah. Character-wise, they're sort of, they're very generic characters, so they're a bit of a blank slate as well.
You can kind of
write some stuff into.
You can kind of do what you want. There's no like real hard expectation from the Mario fan base of like, oh my god, if this doesn't happen, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so disappointed.
I think the other thing about sort of the difference between expectations around a Mario movie versus a Zelda movie is there is this, sort of very more for kids kind of aspect to the Mario movie, and I feel like that gives people, they're more lenient, I guess, on that kind of movie expectation. Whereas you don't have that with the Zelda.
No.
You don't have any of these things with the Zelda movie,
you really don't.
Which makes it tricky.
No. So I think one of the big questions that everybody should ask themselves, before we even get into some of these other topics, is who is this movie for? And why is Nintendo doing this movie? What are they hoping to achieve with this movie beyond just making $1 billion? What is the point?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit, and we talked about this when the Mario movie came out, and now we've seen this in hard data, where it is Nintendo's top priority, and this was a thing that was already ongoing when we were at the company, to expand the audience so that they have the ability to have people engage with the Nintendo brand in ways that are beyond video games. That whole concept of the IP expansion was one of the major business pillars for Nintendo. And I think that, the Mario movie was obviously that, Super Nintendo World was that. The Zelda movie is also that. Even though I think the appeal of Mario is much wider than Zelda, than the Zelda franchise, I think that the goal for Nintendo is still, how do we get more people that don't play Zelda games and aren't familiar with the most recent, game that came out, familiar and interested in Zelda? And I think that's the goal of this movie.
Yeah, even though the Zelda series has had this huge explosion with the last two games of, 30 million sold, 20 million sold, on the way to 30 million sold, Nintendo would love that to be 50 million. Why not? Why not make this, the biggest game out there? And, you're not really going to accomplish that. How are you finding those 20 million new people? Right. It's not by making the most lore-heavy, fan service-heavy Zelda movie out there. You are probably going to be making something that is a bit more down the middle, something that is a bit more attuned with just mainstream tastes.
Yeah.
So... And
even the 20 million, 30 million games Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom sold, those were really sold to Nintendo fans, Zelda fans.
Video game fans in general, right.
Yeah, you're not selling it. It's not like the Wii bowling phenomenon where grandma in the retirement home is playing Breath of the Wild. Maybe grandma is, I don't know. But
people say we have a thing against grandma.
I love my grandma.
We bring up grandma so much.
I love my grandma. I hope that she plays Breath of the Wild.
Grandmas are approved.
She's
here.
Not she can barely see, so she's not going to play that game. But you know what I mean? It's not that kind of phenomenon that Nintendo always wants. This expansion of their audience is what they're always after for everything. And this is not anything out of the ordinary. So you're right.
So I think that's just a very upfront, tough pill for people to swallow who are like, I've been with this series for almost 40 years.
Right.
Where you actually like, oh, this actually isn't for me. That's hard.
It's not made for you at all. Like the person that has spent, countless hours delving into the most confusing thing ever, which is the Zelda timeline, the person that has played every single Zelda game ever, like, I don't think this movie is for you. And that can hurt a little bit, Because again, Mario is very like, everyone has some interaction with Mario. It's an easier entry point. Versus Zelda, they need to make that entry point, like that bar needs to be so low for people to be able to like get on board.
Right.
That I think this movie is going to be like real basic.
Yeah.
And all the things that Zelda fans love, like the deep lore, and when we get excited about things on the walls and temples, like I don't know if that stuff is going to be there, And
if you get into a place where this does well, and you're talking about sequels or a franchise, maybe you could see more of that later. But just up front, as far as establishing it, what is this?
Right.
Zelda's not the guy? What?
Right. Like, we got to answer that question first. We really do.
Let's back up a little bit.
You really have to set the foundation for what this universe is.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to go back to a question that we talked about in depth in our video when this was first announced around the creative team. So we sort of talked about the three main non-Nintendo people who are kind of, in addition to Mr. Miyamoto, flagged as heading this movie up. Yeah. Avi Arad, Wes Ball,
Derek Connolly,
who's the director, and Derek Connolly, who's the writer. Now that we're like a week-ish removed, have your feelings on this changed?
I was just thinking that like, since Mr. Miyamoto is so involved, Nintendo is so involved, I think if there's any shortcomings in terms of quality, the Nintendo team will be that safety net. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking beyond like whether or not you're going to like the story, because I think the story's going to be basic and that's fine. But in terms of like the Nintendo quality of like making a good movie, as like they made a good Mario movie, I do think that there's a pretty big safety net with Mr. Miyamoto and the Nintendo team being involved. But whether or not we have a lot of confidence in these three, I think that all of them definitely have like, I can see why they were potentially chosen for this. They have expertise in some of these areas that's key to making this kind of video game property come to life. But they also have some glaring, negative points in their careers as well. And a lot of people pointed that out, like the Morbius movie or whatever was
Morbin Time
was horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that movie.
What?
But you watched it?
No.
Oh. I was like, really? So yeah, there's definitely like glaring things like, oh, that was a flop, But with the Nintendo team on board, I'm hoping that safety net is pretty big. What do you think?
So kind of going backwards from this, so Derek Connolly, who's the writer, got a lot of like, big blockbusters that were, pretty critically panned.
Right.
I don't think that's his fault. Again, like he's kind of, hey, write this, or here's the outline, write something that fits into this. Like, right. I think the writing is something that's very moldable.
Yeah.
And you can give rounds and rounds of feedback along the way.
Right,
so
right.
I don't get too worried about that. Wes Ball, again, I still have not seen any of these Maze Runner movies. Are those very CG heavy movies, would you say?
They are. They're very CG heavy
right.
movies.
They're
in like a video game world kind of thing.
Yeah, I was listening. Nintendo, Wood and Bob, they did a big discussion on this, and they were saying those movies are pretty CG heavy, right. So that might be one of the reasons why they went down this direction. That was a good conversation. You should listen to that, but just listen to this first. Again, not super experienced, but there's nothing here that's leading me to be concerned necessarily about it. Avi Arad's the one where I do get a little iffy because, it seems like his whole MO is like, well, we're going to make these hit movies, whether they're good or bad, I don't really care. And some are good and some are bad. Like, he's probably got more stinkers than good ones, but he does have some good ones, but I'm not sure that's, what's driving him. He's like, yeah, we're going to make a hit, which I guess if you're the producer, that's your ultimate... That's the most important thing, right?
Right.
But I do want, like, you know, again, you think back to the relationship that Mr. Miyamoto had with Chris Meledandri, aka Steve Ballmer. That seemed like a really special relationship.
Yeah, they really understood each other.
That was rooted in this kind of creative eye-to-eye vision and illumination, having all this experience. Like, that felt really good. And that just gave me a lot of confidence, where I was like, what does he see? It's like asking, like, so he's like, what does he see in this girl he's dating? Like,
I know, it's so true. It is like a best friend, like looking at his best friend dating someone like and saying, like, what do you see in this person?
Now it's come out and said they've been talking for 10 years about this. Like, is it just persistence? Like, what is it?
He's a very good judge of character,
I know,
Mr. Miyamoto is.
But I guess I'm a little uncertain on this specific relationship.
This is just like a relationship where you don't know what happens behind closed doors. They could have a really good connection.
Sparks flying.
Sparks are they're on a bearskin rug and sparks are flying. I don't know. Anything is possible in front of a crackling fire, guys. Wow. But I'm just saying, like, there could be some sort of creative simpatico that's happening that we're not seeing.
Yeah.
And I will say that the last Spider-Man movie was very good.
He was on that one?
Yes.
The Tom Holland one.
Correct.
And he has been involved in the Spider-Verse movies as well. So again, it's not like he's like, you know,
it's not all
a complete train wreck.
Yeah, right. There's definitely some that are not great.
He has shown an interest in video games for some time. I recall, I'm saying this without doing my research, which could be dangerous, but I do recall, like, a long time ago, he was talking to, like, Namco, like, maybe we could make a Pac-Man movie.
Oh.
I think he's had this long-term interest
in turning video game properties into movies. Yeah.
I don't know, like, what is prompting that. Mm-hmm. Like, is he some secret game head, like, whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. If he has, like, a deeper relationship with video games and he truly has, like, an understanding of the Zelda series, that only could be a good thing.
Yeah, and again, we did find this interesting blurb about when the Sony Pictures hack happened in 2014, about how he thought he was getting the Mario movie rights, and you know, maybe, you know, had the rug pulled out from him, but was doing these extensive negotiations with Nintendo. So that's the one where I just get a little, I'm not sold on this.
Yeah.
This one piece of it, but I mean, I think ultimately the West Ball and, you know, the actual true creatives are maybe going to play a bigger role as we actually get further into this. Yeah,
and again, big safety net, really big, like really big. So I feel
and that's why they are, you know, more than half financing this movie, which is if there's some sort of creative dispute, they can say,
well, we have the
money. That's what the money's for. We're going to do it this way. Right. I have another big question that we did not ask ourselves in the last video, but we probably should have, which is, why isn't Universal making this movie?
I know, right?
The more I think about this,
the more troubling it is.
Strange.
They must have a giant team. Like, I was thinking at first, like, oh, maybe they really want them to concentrate on the next Mario movie, but that's probably a different team.
Or I've seen people saying, like, oh, well, they wanted live action, so they didn't do it. Universal is a big studio. They make all sorts of movies.
I was thinking
they can make any kind of movie you want.
Any movie you want, and you already have, like, sort of this existing trust and relationship with them. So why Sony? You know, why?
Right, and I wonder, I was also thinking, like, long-term with the theme park, like, does this limit what might happen with the Zelda part of the theme park? If it's like, well, you've gone in this, you burned this bridge now, where we don't want, keep the Zelda stuff out of here. The Sony Pictures nonsense, I don't want any of that here. Like, you could have really cemented this 360 kind of post-games,
what does it look like?
You know, entity by firming up that relationship.
Yeah.
So it does stand out to me, and then there's, like, you know, I don't think it's a big deal, but there's the whole, like, Sony versus Nintendo and gaming piece that I'm sure was at minimum a very long conversation.
There's definitely some big discussions
that was had, and I come back to this, you know, 10 years of conversations that Avi Arad's had with Mr. Miyamoto. Like, that must have been something to push him
into this
past
direction.
Just continuing the Universal relationship.
Yeah, especially
which again is a little confounding to me.
Definitely, I think that it is a very strange sort of path to take. The only other thing I can think of when I was thinking about this question is maybe they just were nervous about giving their IP sort of wholeheartedly, wholesale to one other partner. Like, they want to diversify that in case, like, something goes south. I don't know.
Well,
could go south.
The long-awaited Smash Brothers movie, I guess that's toast. This is what Marvel. This is what happened to Marvel, which was like they farmed out these IPs to these different studios, and then once they finally got going, they're like, oh, we don't have the X-Men, we don't have Spider-Man.
Right.
Shoot.
Yeah. Then it becomes like an IP.
So I imagine that was
license deal.
I imagine that was just not a priority for them. Like the Smash Brothers movie, not going to happen.
Why would you make a Smash Brothers movie? Give me a break.
Yeah, but it does. Awful business buzzword is synergy. Like I do think there is some synergy of having it all, especially since you have this physical manifestation of everything in the theme parks.
Right.
Just felt a little strange.
Could be also that they really do want to keep Mario and Zelda very separate from how the general audience views it.
But I don't think the general audience knows.
Is this like cartoony,
Universal movie. I'm not going to see that.
I don't know.
People don't think that way.
I'm just grasping at random things because I do feel like this is a very strange thing that has happened. And I wonder how Universal's actually feeling about it too. They must feel a little bit hurt, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking like these could be like the wild reasons that Nintendo came up with to not go in that direction.
So maybe I could see that being asked at some investor Q&A. Somebody should ask this question.
Do you want to go to the investor Q&A?
Why is Universal not making this movie?
We should do a Kickstarter where we become like a part owner.
We'll ask your question.
We'll ask your question if you pay for. I think you
Patreon perk.
Yeah, you can. But we need money. You need like $200,000.
We'll fly to Japan.
We'll go to Japan and tap our feet and ask the real questions. That'd be fun.
Don't smash that sake barrel yet, Mr. Furukawa.
We're gonna vlog it for
I got a real zinger for you.
That could be fun. That could be really fun. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Another big, again, along these lines of Universal, a big question that I've seen people asking is, what should this have been an animated movie?
Right. A lot of people were
versus
really
live
disappointed
action.
That this is not sort of a Studio Ghibli style animated movie, which I would have loved, honestly.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that because I have seen a lot of people saying this. I was unable myself to imagine what is the style they would be going after. So Ghibli sounds like in your mind the clear cut.
And I think a lot of people have said that too. Like we would really love to see.
Is there anybody besides Studio Ghibli making 2D animation these days though? Like that does not strike me as like a super like bankable, marketable
Disney.
They're still doing it?
Disney has some, yeah.
Okay. Because I just thought like, oh, it must be some CG type thing, but I couldn't think in my mind of like, what's a movie like Zelda that's animated that way? I couldn't think of one.
Yeah, definitely the style lends itself really well to the vibe of a Zelda movie. I think that's why people were asking for something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean Disney, Pixar, you could do that style. It could be that would be more like a Toon Link, maybe like a Wind Waker style.
It didn't strike me as a super obvious match.
Right.
Between the subject matter and the medium.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think that live action, you just open the door for so many possibilities of failure. There's so many ways a live action movie can look really cheesy and stupid, and the casting could just go wrong in so many ways because, you thought Chris Pratt's voice was going to be an issue for you in the Mario movie. Imagine like an actor you dislike.
Now he's Link.
It's just Chris Pratt and Anya Taylor-Joy as Link and Zelda.
The second one I actually wouldn't be mad at. She could be okay.
She needs to gain some weight. Like she's a little too skinny.
Let's move on.
She is. Like eat a cheeseburger or something. My God.
Okay. I'm understanding the Ghibli comparison more, but again, I don't think that's the type of movie that they're wanting to do for this.
Yeah.
Like that is not the mainstream blockbuster that they want.
Exactly. That's probably why they didn't go the Ghibli style animation route.
Okay.
They want it to be more mainstream. But again, I think if you do an animated movie, you're like making it easier on yourself, honestly. Like you're just making it much easier to not distract people with things like bad casting, bad acting, like bad CG graphics. Like you kind of eliminate those barriers a little bit. And people can maybe focus more on like, you know, the stuff that you want them to focus on. Like,
if anybody out there, again, has any comparisons for other CG movies that are kind of tonally close to Zelda, please leave a comment. I'm very curious to know.
Yeah.
This next one, I want to get I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this, which is just the tone of the movie that they're going to take. So if you watch any of the big trailers for the last 2 games, like the trailers that people
very serious.
You would think this is the most serious thing I have
people
ever
are
seen.
Crying. I cried.
Like the music's like going crazy.
Yeah,
it's like
you got like
dramatic,
rain and
intense.
tears.
People crying, like demons everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you actually play a Zelda game, it's kind of goofy.
Yeah,
so how do you thread that? How do you thread that needle?
You have a lot of goofy characters.
It's goofy, and there's like goofy moments, goofy characters, goofy things that happen. How do you thread that needle in a live-action movie?
Exactly. That's going to be, if you can't do that right, it's going to fail.
Right.
Like it's like if the jokes don't land because you're trying to put a little comic relief in, that might not go so well.
Because people, I mean, fantasy in live action is typically pretty serious. Like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. Like this is serious. There's no jokes. There's no jokes. But this is not going to be that.
Yeah. Your shirt reminded me of the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh, you watched that?
And I watched that on the airplane. It's a live action.
I mean, God forbid you actually play a game of Dungeons and Dragons with me.
It. Whenever you want to invite me to play a game.
Left to wear the shirt.
Would you like to play in our beautiful new studio
space?
Great,
let's
where
do
we
it.
Can actually do that?
Great.
Would you like to spend
I would
some
love
time
to.
with me to play? Yes.
We're going to hit stop on this podcast. We're going to go.
We're going to do that right now. We'll see you guys later. Just kidding. Keep listening. That movie was hilarious. And it was a fantasy live action movie.
That's an interesting. I had that on the background in an airplane.
Yeah,
that's an interesting comparison.
Sure, but that could be. Yes.
Finish your thought, please.
Would you like to?
I just want to jump. I want to jump in.
You really
after
can't.
After you finish, though.
I was just thinking like, I would like it to be a little more serious than the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was like very comedy heavy.
Okay.
Because there's some very emotional moments in Zelda and in the lore of Zelda that would be great to see it come through if they can do it right and those moments like hit, like that could be really cool to see on the big silver screen or whatever. But I can see them putting in some like comic relief, you know, with some of the characters. Where's the tingle? Where's the if this Zelda movie is kind of along the lines of that D&D movie, are fans going to be mad at that? Might be. What is the tone that fans will not be mad at? Serious. Just straight Twilight Princess, like stone faced. This is dead serious from beginning to end. I think so. That's not what Zelda is to me, and maybe that's why that game did not click with me so much. And that's why it's goofy. You're getting chased by chickens. Cuckoos, excuse me, not chickens. Cuckoos. Somebody got in trouble at Nintendo about that once. Oh, that's true. They're not chickens. They're cuckoos. Chickens, they're cuckoos. Big trouble. They got yelled at. Big trouble. A meeting was straight to detention. You never catch me making that mistake. Yeah, I think people want like the emotional, like dark fantasy Zelda, but instead we get stuff like you're being chased by cuckoos and you. But you like that in Zelda too. I do. So I just a sign and it's. I just think this is such a almost impossible assignment here. Yes. Which is like, what do you want? I want both of these, but if it's too much of one or the other, I'm going to be mad. Yeah, it's so true. I don't know how you do that. That's why the series is so hard to make into a movie. I just don't know how they're going to do it right. Because, yeah, both things need to land and then coexist for it to work. You need to have an emotional moment, make you cry, make people cry. You need to have a moment of humor that make people laugh. So you're getting just increasingly panicked as we have this conversation. I know. I mean, I'm really setting you off here. I'm a really open-minded movie person. Like, I have the lowest threshold for bad movies. So I'm not the one that's going to be like just throwing something. Well, this is not your latest trash like Netflix reality show. This is a big deal. I'm not there yet. I can't think about it so much right now because I think. Well, let's keep going. I'm gonna keep you wound up here. All right. But yeah, you have to land both things perfectly. Here's the next thing for people to get potentially concerned about. People are saying, "Oh, well, this is good in comparison to the Mario movie. They'll really be able to spend a lot more time on the story, build out more of a story. Whereas the Mario movie is whatever. It's like goofy things happen. Yeah.
they find...
And also blank slate, like you were saying before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, but is Mr. Miyamoto, is he known to be Mr. Story?
No. He's known to be a lot of things.
He's the guy who tends to downplay the story.
Famously, he's the person where whenever you would ask a question about story, and he was like, I don't care.
He is gameplay first. He is gameplay first. Obviously, in a movie, you have to, all you got is the story.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a strange, just reality that we're in here.
Maybe he's kept a story about Zelda in his head this whole time, and this is his chance to finally tell it. I don't know. Maybe he's thought about this his whole life.
Anytime
he started this.
Anytime we would ask him or see people ask him these questions that are about the story or the lore or whatever, his reaction was very clearly, I don't care.
And I don't know.
I don't know and I don't care. I'm going to make something up on the spot that people are going to take way too seriously.
Right.
But honestly, I don't care.
And that's why there were so many disparities within the lore.
Right.
Because he just made something up.
Right.
During that interview or during that moment.
What's Mario's last name? It's Mario.
Mario. Because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Do you think on this topic of story...
I'm getting you so wound up and I'm so happy about it.
I'm the representation of the Zelda fan right now, just freaking out. Do you think that there's other people on the current Zelda team that's helping to advise as well? They must, right? Is Mr. Fujibayashi and Mr. Aonuma also super, super involved?
I would like to hear more about this. I'm sure they are, but in what capacity?
Right.
And Miyamoto's going to have the final say.
Of course.
So if
but I'm just wondering
I can't keep track of this.
Because
people aren't going to care. He could just exit out.
Right, because for sure Miyamoto is less connected to the day-to-day of Zelda at this time now. It's really Fujibayashi and Aonuma that are doing the stuff, and also that made the hits, made the the current Zelda a hit. So maybe they should be consulted.
But there seems to be even among Zelda fans a lot of mixed feelings of the story of these games. Do they deliver? Do they pay off? Are there inconsistencies? Even people have even found. Caught Fujibayashi saying things that are where he's making stuff up on the fly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Zelda gets this rep for being oh, this is such a story-heavy series. I'm not sure it is.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that it sort of became an expectation for it to be a story-heavy series. Even though it never was intended to be that way, but because it's set in this world, because you're introducing these characters, that these characters are actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's and then we sort of the Zelda fans, we filled in our own blanks kind of along the way.
Right.
And made it into this big narrative-driven thing when truly it's not. But now we're really in on this narrative-driven thing. We cannot have. And then there's moments in these Zelda games that give you this tease of it being a narrative thing. When Zelda's crying in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these kinds of emotional payoffs, you're oh yeah, they do want to make this into a narrative thing. And then you get disappointed every time, basically. So it's just interesting that it's going to be a movie which is all story for 2.5 hours. So let's see how it goes.
Miyamoto making a Mario movie, cool. It's just whimsy from beginning to end.
Fan service.
Miyamoto doing this theme park, great. There are some parallels to a game there. Miyamoto doing the Zelda movie where there's this big expectation for there to be this great story.
Maybe he needs to study the timeline a little bit.
He needs to get some YouTube videos going.
Does he need to watch the Zeltic?
Make this man a playlist.
Make him a playlist.
Get him a Zeltic subscription ASAP.
Realms. Please fly to Japan. I'm calling you out. Zelda universe. The entire Zelda universe. Please help this man.
Speaking of that, the next thing that you're going to love to talk about. So we do have the Zelda timeline.
Oh my God.
Which I am always so baffled that they even published in that book.
I know.
Because it felt so cobbled together.
It is.
And it's something that honestly was not taken that seriously within Nintendo.
Yeah.
And was certainly as part of marketing, never a talking point.
No.
For us. What is
Except for the one time with Skyward Sword when they were you can talk about the story. We're really?
The one time. What is the expectation, do you think, of this game setting up some, or acknowledging the place in the timeline, or being a new entry in the place in the timeline.
This is going to drive people insane.
You know who's going to really drive insane? Me. Because I don't care.
Well, you don't care, but
I think this timeline is
super
goofballs.
confusing. Yeah, I mean, the timeline has been set up to fail because it's not a timeline that actually exists. It was cobbled together from random, like, one-off comments, and then, of course, like the fan reaction to it. So now it makes no sense. It's like really bad because it makes no sense at all. So to write a story that makes sense within this timeline is near impossible. So I think that they should just throw it all away,
right,
and have the movie be whatever the
new timeline. Oh, we have 2 timelines now.
No, just throw that one doesn't.
But the first timeline branches.
So
this is like 2A, 2B?
No, we cannot have a branching. No,
we're in the negative timeline.
We're not doing
the negative
zone.
This
is like the what is it called? Like P0.
Huh?
Like the start.
Okay.
Because they need something to throw away this timeline. Because this timeline is terrible and it's confusing and stupid. So.
But as far should it adhere at all? So you want it to have nothing to do with the existing timeline?
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's the only way you can do it. Or else what are you going to do?
I think you just don't
acknowledge it.
It's its own thing. Don't try and do a breadcrumb about the timeline.
Oh my god.
It's just its own thing. But either way, people are going to be mad.
It's going to be bad.
Either way, people are going to be mad. There's just another fat hand grenade that they're rolling out there.
It's going to be a real basic though. It's going to be like.
They're going to be like, remember when?
Yeah.
Did you know this was covered in water? But thousands of years,
something
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this was in the sky or something.
Yeah,
like
right.
Whatever.
Look in the sky.
Look in the sky.
Something like that.
Look underground. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really again. This is the thing when you don't focus on story at all and you let people's little brains figure it out on their own. And this is what they come up with. Now you have to deal with it because you're making a movie. It's gonna be bad.
It's not too late for people to just punch out of this timeline like I have. Just be like, I have no concerns about this. I don't think about this.
If they make this movie as a way to say look, this is what it is now, people might have an easier time punching out.
No.
I've punched out.
I've watched leading up to Tears of the Kingdom. I watched so many videos on this, and I was like, this is gibberish. This is nonsense.
This is like.
I can't believe that they put that out in that book. What were they thinking? Whatever. Last point, and maybe the biggest point, Link speaking. So, I put out a tweet, which was very interesting.
Okay.
Which was saying, when Link speaks in a trailer, or whenever we hear this happen first, it's going to make the Chris Pratt casting reaction look like child's play.
Right.
And I got so many responses from people saying, he's not going to speak. That's not what Link does.
Oh my gosh.
I regret to inform you.
Are you guys serious right now?
Link will be speaking in this movie.
Dude, we have to have some real talk, people.
But there were a lot of people who said this. Or they can't do that.
This is why this movie is going to be so polarizing. I mean, there are people that have said, Link's spoken in the cartoons. He's done the goofy cartoon Link stuff. But yeah, the people that think that Link will not speak in this movie, I think you need to have a real... hard look at yourself and come to terms with it.
I just go back to our first question. Who is this movie for? It's for people who expect their main character to speak in a movie, which is 99% of the audience.
It's going to be for people that have a very limited...
Can you imagine the reviews of a movie where it's like, well, this seemed like a cool movie, but the main character didn't speak and that was weird?
I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Yes, he's definitely gonna speak. He's gonna speak, and it's gonna be crazy. And the person that they cast, no matter who they cast, no matter who this person is, we're gonna hate him. That's the fact. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the person that you picked, that you like. You're not gonna like it.
When we get our little Chris Pratt reveal of the cast, and it's all the little Hollywood headshots, people are going to make, here's what's going to happen, people are going to make AI voice samples of Link saying these Link things in that person's voice. That's what's going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be a big movie, This is not the Charlie Chaplin era anymore.
Silent film?
we're not making a silent film. We want this to be a big hit. There are ways within the story that you can address this. When we did our video casting...
I thought your way of addressing this was good.
I came up with a genius solution, if I dare say it myself.
Don't give it to them.
I'm not going to say. But there are
They're gonna steal your idea.
There are creative ways to introduce this and to get Link speaking.
Yes.
Hopefully they do something like that. I think that would be a nice little nod and gesture. Yeah. Versus him just, out of the gate, chatting it up. But this is just one of many expectations, I think, that are going to be challenged and are going to get people upset. And I'm not trying to be like dismissive or glib about any of these. I'm just like, I just want people to start thinking about these things so that when they happen, they're not so caught off guard.
Right. I want this movie to be good. I'm a huge Zelda fan. You guys know. I would give anything for this movie to be like...
Anything?
To be amazing. Like, of course, I want my favorite, game that I've played since I was a kid and the movie to come out. And I want it to be good, obviously. But I think there's so many things... There's so many expectation management things for like a deep Zelda fan to have. So you should just manage those.
Roughly an hour and a half of Zelda movie coming to a theater near you, roughly.
Please.
Roughly 90 minutes.
Roughly 90. Exactly. Roughly we need to manage our expectations. So I'm starting to manage my expectations now by like talking about all this stuff.
If there's anything you want to mute on social media, might just want to go ahead and do that.
Just do it because it might annoy you. Yeah, it might annoy you. But yeah, I that's what I'm doing. This is a very, cathartic conversation because I worry about these things too.
Right.
And I want to just get it out there. And I want to tell myself, like, I want to, help myself get to a place where, like, I understand who this movie is for and why it's like this.
Yeah, I think it just underscores, like, how many degrees harder this movie is than the Mario movie.
Oh my gosh.
To get right.
Totally. Yes, you have a poll.
Yes, we asked our Patreon subscribers just how they're feeling about it now based on what we know. So not what you expect it will be, just based on the information we have now. 55% of people took the reasonable route and said, I need more information to figure out how I feel about it. I would put myself in that camp too.
Yeah, exactly.
25% of people said, I'm optimistic that the movie will be good.
Good.
13% to counter that said it's going to suck, sad face. And 7% says the casting will make or break it.
Yeah.
That's also a big part.
Yeah, because live action. Yeah.
Wario Tush said, I would love to be proven wrong, but Nintendo is aligning with a producer who has made many more bad movies than good ones, and a writer who made Jurassic World, not my cup of tea. Have you seen that? Any of these recent Jurassic Park movies?
Might have seen Jurassic World on the airplane, but I probably wasn't
paying attention. I haven't seen them, but I know people don't like them. Chris Pratt. There's the common line there. The Mario movie got by on being very pretty to look at and having lots of fun references, which overcame a relative dud in the story department. A Zelda movie won't have the same luxury. Again, though, please prove me wrong. Okay? Joey says, I have a lot of thoughts, but I think the most important thing to remember is that Nintendo is taking the reins with this film, just like they did with the Mario movie. That turned out to be pretty amazing, so I have faith that a Zelda movie will be no different. I'm sure Miyamoto understands that the Zelda franchise is far more about its storytelling than Mario ever was, so there's no way they'll skimp on the plot here.
Okay, very optimistic, Joey. I like it.
And finally, Kaylee Rosenberger says, I'm going to pay to see it in theaters whether it sucks or not. I'm more so leaning towards it being an objectively bad movie due to the folks involved, but still a fun new way to experience Zelda. I think if it had a more serious tone, it could be well done, but I can already feel myself cringing at the humor they're inevitably going to throw in. Excuse me, princess!
Oh, it's going to be a tingle moment.
Tingle.
It's going to be a tingle moment, guys. Yeah, that's true. Definitely that line that we talked about, humor and seriousness, is going to be really, like, whether you like it and it hits or it just is a crickets in the room kind of situation. Yeah.
So as they've said, this is still a long ways off, probably years.
Many years.
I don't know if we get, a single update on this in 2024. I wouldn't be shocked if that whole year passes and we don't.
Yeah.
So we can all settle into these thoughts and
And come to terms with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll give us some time before the next bombshell happens and we're like reeling once again.
But I do think it's good to spend the time to think about, what could be and what Nintendo's actually trying to do. So, hopefully we accomplished a bit of that here today.
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of new games that we're playing. Mm-hmm. But before then, I've got to shout out our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by HelloFresh. Thank you. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
Oh my gosh, we are in it right now. The busy, hectic holiday cooking season.
The day this podcast comes out is a 1 week from Thanksgiving. Can you believe that?
No. I'm already getting a little bit stressed out about all of the big Thanksgiving cooking that I'm on the hook for my family dinner. So I do not have the time or the mental space to think about what to do like every single day leading up to Thanksgiving. So I'm really glad to have HelloFresh. They have their wonderful 15-minute meals that's super easy to put together, delivered straight to your door, pre-proportioned ingredients. You don't have to go to the grocery store and fight the crazy crowds and have a nice meal. It's great.
And if you do want to bolster whatever you're cooking at home, you can get things like a charcuterie board or a great dessert to add to the cooking that you're doing yourself. And yeah, there's over 45 weekly recipes. So people say like, oh, you got to start cooking for Thanksgiving days in advance. Like, well, then who wants to make a dinner?
Nobody.
No, make a super quick HelloFresh dinner and take it a little bit easy on yourself over the holidays. That's like we're saying. We all need a little break. Cut ourselves some slack over the holidays.
A break.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So go to hellofresh.com/KitKrystaFree and use code KitKrystaFree for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at hellofresh.com/KitKrystaFree with code KitKrystaFree. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Free breakfast for life is amazing.
It's a long time.
That's a long time.
It's good.
The link is right over here and also in the description. Go get your breakfast, people. Yum.
This What We're Playing section is jam-packed. I don't know how this happened.
I don't know how this happened either, but we've both been like jamming on these games, which is great.
I want to begin with your impressions of Alan Wake 2, which is a game I'm probably not going to play, but I know it's a game that's been really high on your radar for a while.
Yeah, I was super excited about this game when it was first announced. I'm a big fan of Remedy. I loved Control a lot. And you might think this is weird for me because I'm a chicken and usually I'm like terrified. But this kind of game is like one that this is pretty much like the limit of what I can stand.
Okay.
Like this kind of survival horror, like a bit psychological. Like it kind of reminds me of like the level of scary for Resident Evil.
Yeah, I was going to say,
which I play as well.
I've never played an Alan Wake game, so how would you compare it in terms of that to Resident Evil?
I would say it's very similar in terms of scariness.
All right.
Obviously, the gameplay is very different, but the scariness factor is very similar to Resident Evil. The thing about this game that they do well, that they also do in Resident Evil, is your main character that you're playing feels capable. Like, you feel like you can survive it. Like, you can do this.
Now, this was a big moment for me when you said that the main character in the Alan Wake video game is not Alan Wake.
Well, you start out playing
I don't understand.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, what? So you start out playing as a different character. You play as Saga, who is a FBI agent, and she gets, goes to this little town. It's like this creepy little small town, which is like the perfect vibe for this game. And you are basically trying to solve this case, this like really grotesque like murder case. And then eventually, and if you don't want spoilers, maybe like check out this conversation. But this is very light. I'm not spoiling too much, but eventually you do get to play as Alan Wake, as the title of the game might suggest. So you do eventually, but these are very like narrative-driven games. Obviously, it has like sort of this. This one especially has a very like LA Confidential kind of quality to it, where you're like solving a case. You're doing a lot of stuff where you're like, putting together clues in your clue board, try to figure out like where to go next. And what is happening. Obviously, there's scary, really scary things that are happening throughout this, but it has like a kind of detective, solve a mystery kind of feel to it, which I love. I love like a good like Ace Attorney type of solve a mystery kind of thing. So it's perfect. Like I like that kind of gameplay. The gameplay mechanic is really interesting. There's a lot to do with light. Like the things that you're fighting are sensitive to light.
I remember from the videos of the first game that was kind of like hit the enemy with a flashlight and then you could shoot him.
Right, exactly. So
what if you shoot him without the flashlight?
They take no damage.
No damage. Okay.
Yeah, they're like kind of like shadows.
I see.
Sort of you need to activate the enemy with the flashlight. So they kind of go with that whole thing, and they do a lot of really interesting like stuff with light. Like you get this item that lets you manipulate light that kind of changes the environment. So they do a lot of like puzzle elements with light as well. There is some connection to control.
I saw that. I was intrigued by that.
Cool. Like in the very beginning when you're learning about like some of the characters, they mention like Quantico, which is like the big facility that you're kind of stuck in when you play Control. There's some returning characters from Control as well, which I was like, I feel like I know that guy. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's that guy from this thing. I was like, I really love that, and there's definitely that. The games that Remedy makes.
Is it just a cameo, or is there some like bigger overarching story?
There might be. I've not finished the game yet, so I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's very interesting stuff that has to do with some of the elements that happened in Control that may be what's going on here, because there's a lot of like mystery around what is like the root cause of what's happening. Gosh, the environments are just so well done, and they just did a great job of like that kind of atmospheric fear. Like part of the game kind of takes place in the woods. That's always scary, obviously.
I did like that the setting of the first game seemed to be this very like Pacific Northwest, like little like trucker town almost. Is it the same?
It is the same.
I do like that setting a lot.
I love the setting. It's so perfect for it, because it's like, it is beautiful. I would go for a hike in a place like this, but also it's like terrifying. They have like this little town with a little diner, and you see like little elements of that throughout the game. And then there's sort of a shift, and you are more of like a gritty sort of city environment as well, which is also scary in a different way. Like there's different kinds of fear things that happen there. But yes, there is. I will say that it's pretty scary. I've jumped. There's a lot of jump scares in this game, which would not be good for you because you're really scared of jump scares. I have jumped a lot while I'm playing, and I'm trying.
How are you playing this game? Do you have lights on? Sound? Sound. Like what are your accommodations for the fear?
Sound is very low.
Yeah.
Lights are
no
fully
headphones
on.
or
no
anything.
headphones. No. I got the dog.
Okay.
As protection. Yeah. I have squealed multiple times and frightened the dog. It's okay though. I really wish that someone would invent something where it lets me cover my eyes but hold the controller.
Just use the controller. Just use the controller.
I've tried to do that.
Make some sort of a screen for your controller.
I need a little because I like to peek, so I can close my eyes quickly if something scares me. But I want to see, so I just need a way to do that with two hands on the controller and peek.
I've shared this before. I'll share it again. My proven way for when I'm watching a movie in a movie theater that has jump scares, because it's often the sound that gets me. So I'll do one of these where I'll kind of slowly, and then this finger will go into my ear. So it's
you can't hear.
I can't hear it as much.
Okay.
And that's usually okay.
Oh really?
I've never been. Nobody's ever called me out on this or noticed. But this finger just goes right into my ear hole. You see?
Your ear hole.
Nobody can tell.
Ew.
Now I'm protected.
They do a good job too with the timing of the jump scares, which is why it's called a jump scare, because you think a jump scare is coming and then it doesn't come.
Oh,
and
that's
then
the worst.
Yeah, it does. They do that. They do that really well. They do that really, really well. Anyways, and the game is the graphics. It's just how do you do that? It just looks so that you get a lot of close-ups, LA Confidential, or no, LA Noire.
LA Noire?
LA Noire had that where you a close up of the face expressions.
Oh yeah.
They do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's just very I'm how are they doing this? This is really interesting. The lighting is really good too.
Huh.
It definitely has because you're using lighting so
right,
much, it does a lot, a lot of that. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it looks fantastic. So
Okay.
So far, so good. I'm like maybe halfway through now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I have been playing Like a Dragon Gaiden. Call it Yakuza if you like. I still do that a lot.
Call it Yakuza.
I'm gonna do it. So, Gaiden in Japanese means like side story. So this is not like the full-scale, huge new Yakuza game, which is good because the actual full-scale new Yakuza game is coming early next year with Infinite Wealth. And when I was hearing about this game, I was like, why are they doing this? Because you can really like burn out a player base with too much, you know?
Right.
So like, gosh, is this going to be too much?
And earlier this year, we had another Gaiden.
Yeah, we had Ishin before. So I was like, gosh, this is going to be too much. But I kind of like the idea of this. So in the last Like a Dragon game, they had this kind of new character, but Kiryu eventually does, become part of that story. So this is an entirely Kiryu story, and it does kind of happen in parallel with a lot of the events of that last game. And I think, we'll kind of maybe lead into some of the events of the new game.
Okay, so it's like a nice bridge.
Right. So like there's one moment where, remember in the last game, Ichiban is at this like homeless encampment in Yokohama. And there's a moment where Kiryu is in that encampment, and they're like, "Oh, that guy over there, he got a gunshot wound, and he's resting. Don't disturb him."
Yeah.
So like, oh, I know he's there. Can I go? And I totally walked over to go. And they're like, "You shouldn't disturb him. He's resting." So there's a lot of things like that, but it is entirely its own story. It does kind of call back to some of the last games before they changed the name. So actual Yakuza games, which were more Kiryu focused. I didn't play those. But basically the idea is he needs to give up his identity to protect this orphanage that he is very attached to.
I see.
So it's like, all right, I'll give up my life. This is like a deal he makes, like to keep them safe. And it's hilarious though, because it's just him walking around like with a pair of glasses, and literally everybody he sees, they're like, "Hey, it's Kiryu," and he's like, "No, it's not."
It's like Superman.
Right. But he is like he is extremely committed. Like he'll never like give up. He's like, "No, I don't know who you're speaking of. That certainly isn't me." But it's like obviously him. It's like wearing the exact same thing, which is with glasses on. Really funny.
The humor in these games are great.
Yeah. So this
What time period is this?
It's like modern.
Modern times.
Modern times.
So not the ancient.
No.
Okay. Confused.
I was just telling you about the game that you played, of the homeless encampment in Yokohama. It's exactly the same as that.
Okay. No time jumps.
No. It is action-focused combat versus where the series had been starting to go more turn-based. Yeah. So I've been kind of reacclimating my mind to that. It's very fun. There are now two different fighting styles. There's one which is kind of the traditional, they call it Yakuza fighting style, where it's just, feels very similar to those games. There's a new one they call Agent. Oh. So he's kind of aligned with this kind of more spy-like organization now.
Oh, interesting.
And they give him gadgets.
It's Batman.
So he has something in his watch where it can like shoot a wire, and you can like grab guys in combat and like throw them around, which is pretty fun. There's also, you also use that around the environment to like see things. You like, and you like pull something out. Oh. It's like, oh, I got some money.
Kind of like Spider-Man when you can do that move with the webbing.
It is a little bit similar to that.
Items,
I also got a gadget that's like, you can call these like drones to come and like harass the enemies, and they're like, oh, and then you go punch them. I also got like an exploding like cigarette bomb that I can throw.
Okay, interesting.
So the whole like James Bond.
It's a little Bond,
conceit. I don't know how well it fits with like the Yakuza world, but it is kind of fun to have this new style of play.
I do like when you can interact with the environment when you're fighting. That makes it like feel like, why does this environment exist?
Right. You can still you still like pick up stuff and like smash people with it.
I like that a lot.
There's all that, which is great. So it is also reusing a number of the environments. So like I said, I've been to Yokohama. I'm currently in Osaka, where there's a lot happening there, and the game's sort of opening up. But there are some new areas. So like I recently, last night, got to this, I assume it's an area that I'll be returning to. It's like this offshore casino that they have built on this like oil rig.
That sounds cool.
And there's this whole sort of like coliseum there. There's sort of a funny like story bit where like they're reenacting Yakuza battles through time. And they're like, oh, you're going to be fighting, the dragon of Dojima, Kiryu.
Oh.
And he's like, I wouldn't talk like that, because he's like fighting this other guy who's pretending to be him.
To be him, yeah.
Right. But that's very visually like very cool to look at, very flashy. It feels like super amped, like Las Vegas.
They do a
style.
good job with that, like with those those champagne clubs and like all that stuff.
You can kind of tell they're trying to maybe make this a little bit on the cheap and be this lead into this new game, but they do have some cool flourishes that they have put in. This is also a shorter game. Like I've heard this is like 15-ish hours or so.
Yeah.
So it truly is just a lead in, I think, to the next game. But it's fun. I like it a lot. It's on Game Pass, so I'm playing it there.
Nice.
That's great. And it's a very nice little in between all these massive games.
Know, right?
Just another nice little thing to fill that up.
Yes.
Did you play this? We both played
yes.
the final Mario Kart 8 Deluxe booster course pack. I did not realize that this was the final one.
I like how they made a little artwork thing too.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for all the years of Mario Kart 8.
I think there were just so many of those. Like, oh, surely there's several.
The last spot was finally filled.
Several more of these, but yeah, this is it. I thought this was a good one.
It's a very good one. Good way to end it on a high note, huh?
Yeah, I thought they were all solid. Some were better. I mean, all the packs that we've gotten over the last couple of years have been solid. I thought this was probably a higher tier one.
Right.
This was a really good looking one.
Beautiful.
A lot of the courses were at nighttime, I noticed, and they had some really nice lighting. Like there was the one where you go under and above water.
Yeah, the Piranha one's my favorite one.
And you could see like the shimmering
reflection
of the light. I was like, this is
There's
really
like a
nice
boat
looking.
up there with like a thing. Yeah, it's really cool.
That one was great.
I like that one too.
Always, you've got to break down the Mario Kart Tour courses.
So this one you had Rome and Madrid. I liked Rome.
I liked Rome a lot. I didn't love Madrid.
I feel like it's not the course's fault. It's like the city needs to have like crazy landmarks for it to look recognizable. Madrid, I did like when you go to the soccer field.
That was cool. That was cool.
That was really cool.
They had that in the Los Angeles where you go through like Dodger Stadium.
I like that. That was neat.
So that was neat. But yeah, I mean, Rome is just packed with enough things that people
Rome is very
know.
recognizable.
Again, no San Francisco course. We came up with a great idea for a San Francisco course that would be iconic immediately.
It's terrible.
But
LA.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. So Mario Kart 8, the game, the project, the legend is finally over.
Ready for Mario Kart 9 for Switch 2?
10 years. We didn't put this in the upfront because we got to figure it out, but I do want to make some sort of a video just talking about the 10 years of Mario Kart because we were involved for a lot of those years.
Right.
And maybe looking ahead at what's to come. I think we have a good question in the Q&A as well about this later. But yeah, it's amazing that this game lasted 10 years and they just kept finding ways to sustain it, even though I'm sure that's not what they planned from the beginning.
Right.
So just an absolutely iconic classic.
Yeah, it worked well, I thought, for this game, and it kept everyone coming back to it. So whatever, sort of system they had for this, I think it was a good model for Mario Kart games going forward.
Yeah. I mean, some of those, like they had the DK Mountain. I was like, man, this still really holds up well.
Wii Rainbow Road.
The re-envisioning of the Bowser's Castle from the SNES.
That one was really good.
I was like, this is like indistinguishable from, or I was like, there's no, I don't see the connective tissue between the original and this. Like they changed it up so much, but it was really fun and really good.
Yeah, that was a hard course too.
Yeah, I mean, I've found that like these kind of tend to come and go as far as people paying that much attention to them. But I think this course pack in particular maybe deserves an extra look. Yeah, because it was good. Another thing I've been playing is a game called Warhammer 40K Boltgun.
Whoa.
Which is a game I've had my eye on for a while, and then finally I was like, I should just get this because I was interested in it. So this came out a couple months ago. This is a first-person shooter set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Do you know much about that?
I don't.
So this is also the Warhammer Space Marine kind of general idea where it's like Warhammer is this very like fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons level fantasy tabletop game.
Okay.
They also have another version of that that's set in the future.
Okay.
But you have like goblins in the future.
Oh.
Which is cool. And they have these Space Marines, which are kind of like often the main characters of these games, and they're like 10 feet tall, and they have 19 livers because they get shot all the time, and they're these like superhuman like creations. But this is a retro-styled first-person shooter. So kind of imagine like if you were like, well, if we made
like
Doom, if we made Doom today, or if we made like original Quake today, like what would that kind of be like?
That's fun. Those are fun games.
That's a cool. I mean, visually, it very much feels like that, but also in terms of just like what you're doing, there's a lot of like, oh, I need to find this key to get into this, to open this door, and there's a lot of like little secrets that are hidden, which is very much like those old id games had stuff like that.
I love that.
They're also like really keeping track of like your play time. So I imagine they're like, we want you to speedrun this. We want you to try and like get the best time through it. The levels I've found are also like pretty bite-sized. So I've seen a bit of a resurgence of this genre. There's a few other games that have come out recently where I'm like, okay, this is cool. It kind of as a counterpoint to modern first-person shooters.
Yeah.
If people want something that's a bit faster and a bit more like arcadey almost, like I like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Warhammer is something that I'm just sort of perpetually interested in. They do a good job of playing that out here. The action is really good. The game is called Boltgun.
Do you have a bolt gun?
I have a bolt gun.
All right.
When I shoot guys with the bolt gun, they basically explode in a very satisfying way. They have the
one-shot kill.
It is a lot of I was surprised actually. It is a lot of, depending on the enemy, it is a lot of one-shot kills. Sometimes you'll fight the other factions, Space Marines, and those take a lot of shots. You do also have the chainsaw sword that the Space Marine has, and that's very satisfying to have kind of a melee counterpoint to that. So I'll probably keep, playing this here and there, but I'm liking it a lot. I got it on Switch. I think it's on most every platform, but it's very well suited to Switch or the Steam Deck, and I find it's frequently on sale too. So I think it's worth a look.
Nice.
What's new in the world of Fashion Dreamer?
Well, the new thing is that we have a great community of Fashion Dreamer players on our Discord. We've all shared our sort of player IDs or whatever you call it in that game, and now we can create looks for each other. We can visit each other's showroom. So this social aspect of Fashion Dreamer, I'm actually liking quite a bit. Like I think last week I was saying like, oh, kind of miss sort of the style savvy gameplay a bit, since this is very focused on like you becoming a fashion influencer and getting these likes and stuff like that. But the social aspect is really good because you do get to style for people that that are playing the game.
Yeah, like what are you doing in this?
You can make like outfits for them based on what they like.
Yeah.
And you can also visit their showroom. So I've been updating my showroom a lot, which is pretty fun because people come and like buy things from your showroom and give you like little hearts and stuff. And then you can go visit their showroom and like basically get the outfits from their showroom into your game. So that part has been really cool. And it's nice to have people that are also playing the game that I actually know. Because it's always like when I see someone like from our Patreon that's like, so-and-so created you like a look it.
That's
it's
nice.
like, oh, they do know me so well.
Yeah,
like they made me like outfit. I totally would wear this in real life, So that's really fun. So I really, really like that so far. But yeah, it's been a really good little like side game. So I've been being terrified after playing Alan Wake. I would like play like 10 minutes of Fashion Dreamer and watch like Gilmore Girls so I can like go to sleep or else I'll have nightmares and stuff.
No.
So yeah.
That's good. I was wondering, because you seemed a little iffy on parts of it last week, I was wondering how much you would keep going. But that's cool if it has these social hooks that keep you
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Nice. Well, them's the games we're playing.
Yeah.
I guess next week we got Mario RPG, and then the schedule kind of really eases up. So
now we can catch up.
Just nonstop barrage of games.
Yeah.
It's going to slow down.
What a year. My God.
Yeah. Let's move to some news.
We have a lot of news
We do have a lot. We had a big news break this morning when the TGA nominees came out. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, we did our big TGA predictions.
Yes, you should check us. Watch that episode and check us to see how we did.
Yeah.
I think we actually did pretty decent.
I think we overall did pretty well.
Yes.
And we're not going to go through every category here, but we'll just go through a few of the things that stood out to us. So, Game of the Year nominees are, in alphabetical order, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think we predicted all of these except Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised.
We had a big discussion about, how a game that's a remake, remaster will be treated in terms of Game of the Year and game, nominees. We actually were wondering if Jeff might have like a remake category, but I guess not. And I guess this game is here. I mean, this is an incredible thing to see a remake nominated for Game of the Year. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think we were feeling that either Final Fantasy 16 or Starfield might get this spot.
Yeah.
In the end, neither of them did. And I think Resident Evil 4 is very deserving. I think it's a fascinating conversation of how remakes fit into these sorts of conversations. So I'm excited for this. I think this is an incredible 6 games. I guess with the exception of Alan Wake, you'll have played them all.
I will have.
You will have played them all.
I did not.
There's a feather in your hat.
Thank you. I did not play Baldur's Gate to the end though, so I might pick that back up after Alan Wake. Actually,
you really should.
I'm going to because I think that game deserves more of my attention.
My gosh.
But yes, what a list. Like we were saying before, like it's so interesting that we're getting a sort of a little repeat of 2017 with the 2 Nintendo games nominated, Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom, 2017 Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, obviously. So it's fascinating to see.
Do you have a gut feeling about what's going to take this?
I think it's Baldur's Gate. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's Baldur's Gate and Zelda are the top 2.
Yeah.
I don't
yet. I think Zelda's taking it though.
I don't know which of those is the front runner though.
I really think Baldur's Gate did something incredible.
So incredible that you stopped playing it.
I'm gonna go back to it, but it's like one of those things where it's like you never thought this genre would come back.
Yeah, it did something incredible. It crashed while I was watching my ending.
This is where it's like a wedding where you're like, I object when they like, oh, you're gonna storm the stage. I get it.
No more. Don't even talk about that.
Okay.
Don't even say that.
Okay.
We did wonder, would Jeff add some new categories to kind of take into account just the types of games and the number of games that came out this year. He largely didn't. It was mostly a lot of the same categories. So there was no remake category, even though there were a lot of great remakes. Did Metroid get nominated for anything?
Nothing.
I mean, it seemed like Resident Evil was the one remake that got a lot of action.
Yeah.
Not so much for the others. DLC was another thing that we were wondering, how would he deal? And he just kind of placed it in. So like I saw Cyberpunk getting some nominations.
Yep, narrative.
So there was no best DLC, and again, I think Xenoblade DLC didn't get anything. Snubs, Octopath Traveler 2. That was a big prediction that we made. Came out to be completely right.
Absolutely true. Everyone forgot about that poor game.
So it did not get nominated for Best RPG or Best Soundtrack, both of which I think it's very deserving.
It's too bad.
And yeah, I think that the reasons are it's like just a huge game that I don't think enough people who are voting on this got through enough of. And there was just so much pressure if you were in games media this year to just move on to the next hot thing.
Yeah, you have to.
When you have a 100-hour Octopath Traveler, it's like not enough of them are just going to stick with it.
Exactly, and you really had no choice this year.
So I think that's a bit of a just kind of fundamental shortcoming of how he does this, but that stood out to me as one of the big snubs.
Yeah.
A little trivia factoid, Final Fantasy 16 did get listed as an RPG. You mentioned this when we did the nomination.
Very confused. That was action adventure?
I think you're really onto something of these genres are getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
Because like Resident Evil was listed as action adventure. The action and action adventure.
Can we just combine them?
I don't know if he has... tucked away some actual written
criteria
distinction.
Right.
I would like to know.
I'm just curious for myself because I have a hard time, placing or categorizing.
Yeah. It's like if you put Final Fantasy 16 in Best Action Game, I think it could win that. I don't think it's winning Best RPG.
No.
So, but I think Square would probably prefer that it's listed as an RPG. This is where the behind the scenes lobbying.
Not a JRPG.
This is where the lobbying happens.
Remember what happened with
Jeff's on.
Oh, Jeff's on. Jeff's on.
Just saying.
But don't you think that's interesting that they fought tooth and nail for it not to be categorized as a JRPG, but they were fine with it being RPG. Like, I don't get that.
Whatever.
Okay.
Mario Wonder, interestingly, did get nominated for Best Multiplayer.
Okay.
I don't know if I would have chosen that, but okay.
There is multiplayer in Mario Wonder, so that's something.
Again, this is one of those games that came out right before people were choosing these nominees, so I wonder if they were like, yeah, Mario Wonder, cool.
Recency bias, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
In most anticipated game, the selections were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8.
Oh.
I would say this is not as many bangers as they have sometimes had
Tears of the Kingdom, right?
in this category.
But it's going to be Final Fantasy.
It's going to be very clearly Final Fantasy.
Although Hades is a darling of the TGAs. It's a TGA
But
darling.
this is a fan vote category, so
yeah, exactly.
Very clearly. And then I just wanted to ask this last question. Is Starfield a disappointment for not getting Game of the Year, a nomination?
I think that's kind of a snub, honestly, too, you know?
I mean, I think ultimately, when you look at what got it, I wouldn't say I had a better time with Starfield than any of those games. But if you're Microsoft, do you feel a little burn, a little sting?
Your biggest Game of the Year, you don't get it, but Nintendo gets 2? Are you kidding me? Like, that feels bad.
Yeah, Sony's got one. Some third parties got one.
You're part of the big 3. You can get one.
Yeah, like you really had every expectation
to get one.
And it seems
and then also a remake took your spot. Ouch.
Is Todd Howard just like calling in sick today to do some moping?
Aw, I feel bad about that. That's not good. I hope he's okay. But yeah, I really thought Starfield was going to make it into Game of the Year.
I'd be a little disappointed if I was Microsoft.
I would be disappointed
that we didn't get a Game of the Year.
Ouch.
The new game from Bethesda.
Jeff
Game Studios, after all these years.
Jeff also put out a couple tweets with like his little infographic-y kind of things.
Yeah.
And the most nominated publisher.
Oh, you found this?
Was Nintendo.
I was looking for this and you didn't say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
What are the numbers?
It was like 19 Nintendo.
Okay.
Nominated.
Oh, those family game nominees.
Those family games.
Yeah.
But
rack those
like,
up.
Yeah, it is like very. They're very.
Did you say what was the game that got the most nominations?
I believe it was.
Because again, I could see.
I want to look it up now. Can you look it up now?
I don't know where it is. Spider-Man, Zelda, and Baldur's Gate could all really just get a lot.
I wanted to. Now I can't remember.
All right, whatever.
But anyways,
include it in the.
I'll include it
in the podcast. Yes.
In the podcast description.
All right. So the Game Awards is in a little under a month. So
yes.
Plenty of time to think on that a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. But great games this year. What a year for all of these fantastic games. And it's fun. It's fun to always see it like in a big culmination at the end of the year. You know what I mean? So that's a good thing.
Pretty much immediately after we did the podcast last week, we got a Schreier bomb saying, "Hey, Grand Theft Auto 6 could be announced any day."
Oh.
And then
here comes Rockstar.
Like basically like the next day, they put out this series of tweets, which I can just read.
This is Rockstar.
Next month marks the 25th anniversary of Rockstar Games. Thanks to the incredible support of our players worldwide, we've had the opportunity to create games we are truly passionate about. Without you, none of this would be possible, and we are so grateful to all of you for sharing this journey with us. Get to the point. In 1998, Rockstar Games was founded on the idea that video games could come to be as essential to culture as any other form of entertainment, and we hope that we have created games you love in our efforts to be part of that evolution. We are very excited to let you know that in early December, we will release the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. We look forward to many, many, many more years of sharing these experiences with you. Thank you, Sam Hauser.
Maybe a tweet longer next time?
I don't know why they needed to do this kind of, was this...
It's like an announcement for an announcement for an announcement?
I mean, they didn't do it in response to Jason because the Jason story was that they were going to do this. Mm-hmm. I don't really see the point.
Right. Scared of leaks? Who knows?
I mean, well, they did have a huge leak not long ago. So maybe they're just scared, yeah.
Yeah.
So is this early December is when the Game Awards
happen? Is it the Game Awards? Is it going to be at the game? Is it the one more thing?
Yeah.
We get this... Grand Theft Auto trailer? I mean, probably. Why not?
I mean, they do seem very much like a company that wants all of the attention on themselves.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, the Game Awards is such a huge venue. Like you could close the show with that and have Jeff make a big moment. So, and it's been so long.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, that was the meme. That's another 10 years. It's been 10 years.
I can't believe it's
so
been
maybe
10 years.
And a lot of people have come and gone at Rockstar. So maybe it's like a different era.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what a new Grand Theft Auto is at this point. It's been so long, and there have been so many open world games. So much has changed, and even so much of like what Grand Theft Auto was as far as this big satire, like has just become reality. I don't know how you stay ahead of that.
Yeah.
But we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe a clean slate kind of situation where you just start over.
Right.
And start
right.
from a fresh place.
Yeah. I mean, they did have, I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5, the kind of online ongoing part of that is still like super popular. So maybe they just go even heavier into that and it's like more closely integrated with single player. Like that could be an interesting way to do it. I didn't stick with it for super long after I beat the story of GTA 5, but that's been a huge success.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We shall see.
Yeah.
I know, but it is kind of silly to have an announcement for an announcement,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I had a funny story. So my first job was at this agency, and one of the things that the people who worked there did before they started that agency is they did do a little bit of work with Rockstar on the early, so it was like GTA 3 and Vice City.
Okay.
And they told us this story about how before Vice City was announced, I think it was at an E3, like those screenshots had leaked. Like maybe like an hour before that announcement had happened.
Oh no.
And they had like a war room situation. And, they were like, oh, people were scrambling and people were like, oh, what does it mean? What does it mean? And one of the executive was just like, it's the bloody Hindenburg. And I don't think he said bloody, but they're like, they take this so seriously and they're so like make or break with their outlook on this sort of thing that, again, like I just wonder how they're feeling and how that studio has changed because it's been so long.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, it's been so long that you can start over and not be
You're not so
penalized
beholden
from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just shed those things that were annoying to you and just start over.
Yeah. We got sales updates on Spider-Man 2 and Mario Wonder. I'll start with Mario Wonder. So it has sold 4.3 million copies globally, which makes it, I think they were saying that's the biggest release for a Super Mario game yet. They didn't have to qualify 2D or 3D, so this is just the biggest one.
Good for them.
So that's big. I think I saw some people saying like, oh, I thought it would be a little bit more. But, I mean, he even sort of teased up, like, this is going to sell for a long time. I think they're very pleased with that. Again, the Black Friday momentum announcement remains a big opportunity to talk more about this. Yeah. Keep an eye on that. And
it's going to sell great over the holidays.
Yeah, it's going to really go up before the end of the year. And then for Spider-Man, they have said that it is now over 5 million copies, which I guess puts it just a tiny bit behind God of War Ragnarok, which had 5.1 in a similar time frame. So those two are just kind of neck and neck. But God of War was also on PS4, so it did have a bigger total install base to work with. They shared this with this very strange Ric Flair woo gif of Kraven. Do you know who Ric Flair is?
No.
Oh, Ric Flair is the world's wateriest wrestler. What does
that mean?
Well, when I was watching wrestling like 20 years ago, I was like, oh, Ric Flair, that guy's sure old. And he's still going.
How old is he?
I don't know, but he's got to be very old. He likes to, his move is the chest chop, where they will trade chops and just slap each other on the chest.
Get like your wind knocked out.
That's why I'm saying he's very watery, because when he gets hit with those chops, like if you slow-mo that, it'd be like a waterbed.
He's like,
yes. And he looks exactly the same. He's got this like white hair.
Whoa.
He's always wearing the little like underwear, the red underwear. So I don't know why they chose the Ric Flair gif to put into Kraven.
Okay.
And he says woo. That's what Ric Flair does. He says woo. Woo! That's what Ric Flair does.
Sure.
So somebody over at Insomniac is like the world's biggest Ric Flair fan. And now you can be too.
Okay, great. Can I do it to you?
Grandpa, no.
Please?
Absolutely not.
Can I do it right now?
No!
Can I
Stay
do it
away from me.
lightly?
I have a microphone right here. No. Stay away from me.
Oh, that's lame.
Last news story. The Steam Deck OLED was announced. This is interesting. Valve had said, they would get asked this all the time, like, when are you going to do a revision? And they would say, we're not. And in this case, I understand that they were being true to their word with this.
Right.
I don't think they were liars for doing this, because I think the way they were looking at that question was like a full-on major hardware, like,
overhaul.
Faster speeds, better internal guts. This is the Switch OLED.
I was going to say, this is basically Switch to Switch OLED.
This is exactly what that is.
Exactly what that is.
Right. So you get a bigger OLED screen, going from 7 inches to 7.4 inches. This is coming out on November 16th, so super soon. Yeah. That's in like a matter of days.
Holiday time for people to get
the battery life. It's funny because they were saying the battery life is up to 50% better, but in some cases you're going from 2 to 3 hours, so it's bad to bad.
Yeah.
But it is better.
12.
It is better.
Yeah.
Faster downloads. And as far as pricing, you can get one of these 512 gigs for $549, $649 for a terabyte, and then the original, they've dropped the price down to $399 for the 256 gigs.
This is where you throw out the one that I got you and demand a new one?
No, I didn't have any thought at all that I should upgrade. I mean, this is nice. This is a nice rolling upgrade for them to make, but it's very much an incremental step. So I think it's good that they are not falling trap to the normal PC stuff of like every 6 months we have to put out a new version.
A new one, yeah.
And I do think it's kind of amazing that PC games have not really outpaced what the Steam Deck can do.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty capable.
Because even like when they were like, oh, Baldur's Gate runs great on the Steam Deck, I was like, what? It does? That's amazing.
Right.
I don't know how they really nailed those specs to be able to play most everything. It's great.
They just know.
Yeah. The battery life, I wish it was better. It's very dependent game to game.
Right.
Some games, it's like you can feel this thing getting super hot and these fans just go crazy. It's like, well, this isn't gonna last long. But other games, it's fine. So this is really nice. Obviously, the Steam Deck has been a big hit. I think this just reinforces that, and I think it's good to have the Steam Deck playing a big part in the industry. I think it's a great piece of hardware.
I think so too.
Yeah. Them's the news.
All right. Whoa, that was a monster news section.
Time for some questions. Start with a question from Cerulean Dragon, and we get all of our questions from our Patreon subscribers. Hey, you too. Now that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has all of its DLC out, there's a whopping 96 tracks in the game. Wow. While it could be ported to whatever comes next, I think Nintendo realizes that Mario Kart is such a cash cow that not making a true 9th entry would be a major misstep. So that begs the question, how does Mario Kart 9 top this? Do you think it will launch with a standard 48-ish tracks, more or less? Do you think they'll do DLC right away or wait years like they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? What new gimmicks would you like to see?
Yeah, we said this for a long time, but we totally think that Mario Kart 9 is going to be the launch title for the next hardware.
Yeah.
Switch 2. And I still think that. I think for sure, like, you want the sort of, that type of game that everybody can play Mario Kart and like Mario Kart to be the launch game for your new system and to convert people over, too, to your new system. I think that would be the game that would do it. I think that this model is good, though. I hope that I don't wait too long between DLC releases, but this model of like kind of giving you something every once in a while to keep you coming back to this game over a long period of time is smart. It's really well done.
I think that is the big takeaway and thing that they should do for this is we're going to plan from day one to support this for the entire life cycle of the next console.
Right.
And not in the same way of like a Fortnite live service where it's like a new thing every month, but more in the like every year, 1 to 2 years, we will have a substantial upgrade that will bring people back and keep people playing and talking about this game.
Yeah.
and that's how we're going to keep making money off of this. I think that would be a very smart model, and it made me think of like what other Nintendo games could they do this with? Obviously, Smash would be perfect.
Animal Crossing.
We might not get a Smash game. Splatoon, that's what they should have done with Splatoon 3.
Instead of having
Splatoon
a new
3
game
should have been just, we are just continuing to add to Splatoon 2. That would have been a lot better.
The community's already there. They could have just added to it.
Right, and there wasn't, it didn't completely change what that game was.
Right.
So I do hope they're thinking about that of, you know, it's still a Nintendo experience. We're not falling into any like live service trend, but how can we support these big, big, big games for the entire length of a new generation and be a bit more proactive versus like, oh, this thing's big, we should do something.
Yeah.
Because we were still there when they said they were doing this, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I had like, could you say that again?
Yeah.
You're doing how many more tracks?
Yeah. Just like the whole fighter pass things. Like how many fighters are you gonna do?
Right.
But it's like you should have planned for this, like for the timing of it to be like a little bit more
like all of it
nuanced.
It just felt like they were like stumbling their way into it to some degree. It's like they planned to do DLC on Wii U, that was fine, and it was like, oh yeah, we'll put this thing out on the Switch. Like it was never a huge it was not like the big priority for us, and then it went on to sell 50 million copies.
And then we were like, maybe we should do more for this, and then and then it's like, oh, let's do these DLC
and then a long time passed.
Yeah. So it was very much an afterthought.
Right. So if they can get ahead of that, they can do even more, which is cool.
Animal Crossing is another one. They should. It's another thing where you want to incentivize people to come back to the entire life cycle of the console.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Yeah, they closed the door too
early.
Soon on that. They should have been a bit more open to continuing to support that, I think.
Yeah, they made it so that you had no incentive to go back, even though it's a game that they want to encourage you to play for like 15 minutes every day.
Those next-gen toilets, though, they don't make themselves. They don't make themselves.
It's gonna be gold and automatic and a bidet. Gimmicks. What new gimmicks would you like to see?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
what can you add, really?
I don't want gimmicks. Ultimately, I mean, remember when the original Mario Kart 8 came out, we made so much about the anti-gravity.
No one even cares.
But when you play the game, it's like a nothing thing. It's like, you're just driving around.
There's another one with the glider. That was the other one. Mario Kart
that was 7. That was cool.
That was cool.
I
like that.
I mean, make the gimmick as not prominent as it can be. just make it a good Mario Kart game.
Yeah.
I could see them expanding again more with the other characters.
Right, I was gonna say that's the one thing I did like the Link and the Animal Crossing integrations were fun.
Yeah. The one thing I did ask myself was with Smash, we say, oh my gosh, how could you ever make another Smash game? You put it all here. But we don't say that with Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know, I think that Mario Kart is really hinged on tracks versus Smash, which is really hinged on characters.
That's a great point. That's a really good point.
I think that's what it is. Like your imagination is really limitless with tracks. You can do anything.
You really nailed that.
Thanks.
Good job.
Wow. Pass the test.
Mr. Nathan asks, I watched your presentation for Disney Dreamlight Valley, and it was interesting to see you in a setting where you were following a script and promoting a product that wasn't your personal brand. It was good, but it was evident that you were saying words someone else had written. Did it feel strange to be in that corporate environment, and did it feel like you were back at Nintendo working for the man? What sorts of conditions do you consider before accepting a job like this, such as do you have to personally enjoy the product or brand, or do you need a certain level of input on the script? If Nintendo ever offered you a similar one-off to present a game announcement in this style, would you consider it, and what conditions would you have before you said yes?
Yeah, we had a great time working with Disney and Gameloft on the showcase. And that you kind of nailed it in your question, that all of the things that we ask ourselves before doing something like this is exactly what you sort of put in the question. We absolutely have to be genuine fans of the game, which we are. Mm-hmm. I was playing this game so much, like over the summer when we were prepping to do this, I was like daily, but I couldn't tell you guys.
I know.
I was under like an NDA.
We both were.
I could not. We both played the game. We were like so into it. Like, and we were like every game of the like games we were playing section. I was like, well, I didn't play anything else.
Little light maybe.
Except for Disney, so I have to make up something else.
Right.
It was so funny, but yeah, being a genuine fan and player of the game is, and the brand is obviously like a huge. It needs to be like a huge check mark for us. Before we do anything like this.
And, you know, I think Gameloft also sort of anticipated like some of the perspective that we would want to bring, where they were like, we have these key messages, we need to get those across, but we want you to deliver it in a way that feels comfortable for you. Yeah. So if you want to, tweak any of the language, obviously there's things we have to say that we can't change, but just so it feels like you and that you're comfortable saying it. That's important.
Yeah, that was really great.
I'm not sure every company would go that far, so we really appreciated that. Doing something scripted is different. It's very different. It's harder than you might think. I think for us that's harder than being unscripted.
Oh yeah, absolutely harder.
Because you have to get every word
perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
But just felt super comfortable with them and had a really good team helping us through it. So I think it came out great in the end.
Yeah. I think doing something scripted is sort of like when we were at Nintendo, we used to do interviews with media. Like that was a big part of our job. That maybe some of you guys didn't see as much because you guys were watching like Nintendo Minute, which is unscripted. But like there would be this like binder of questions and answers. And you would have to say the answer like pretty much as it's written, because sometimes when you say the answer like a little bit different, it actually can mean something else and you get in trouble. Yeah. Like that's why it's like those media interviews can be really scary, because if your response is taken a different way than intended, it could actually be pretty bad. So we were really careful with those things, and that kind of reminded me a little bit of like you can say things in your own words, but you have to get the message across in a way that is very clear. But yeah, we loved working with Gameloft. It was wonderful to do something like this for a game that we're both such huge fans of, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Next question is from directed by Alan Smithy,
who's actually Pikmin Sneezecloth,
who lost a profile picture bet, which seems to happen fairly often. The picture. Is this
like an astronomer?
Galileo or Copernicus or
Who's Alan Smithy?
Shout out to Galileo. I think Alan Smithy is a movie director, I believe. Okay. A lot of debates about movies with old Pikmin Sneezecloth.
Oh boy.
I'm sure we'll get the update. But recently RGT85 made a video titled "How Metacritic is Ruining Video Games." RGT makes a point how Metacritic should not be used as gospel be-all, end-all type of consensus. RGT argues that Metacritic has gained too much influence on whether games can be considered good or not, and whether they're actually worthy of Game of the Year awards, etc. I'd like to ask you, what is your take on Metacritic and gaming scoring in general? Do you put much stock into it, or do you just enjoy playing your favorite games without caring about the scores? Thank you.
Yeah, this is tricky because I think it's gotten very contentious over the years, especially in recent years. Now we have that thing like the review bombing, that you basically, when we were at Nintendo, you would warn everybody before reviews came out for a game that this was going to happen. And every single time, they would be shocked.
Pokemon Sword and Shield was the one where I had to go really big and telling people, like, these user scores are going to suck.
Yeah, they were like, why?
Yeah.
Why though?
Yeah.
So that's like a big kind of negative part of that.
Yeah.
But there is something to review scores. I do look, for me, I do care about them. I honestly do care because I need someone to help me, like,
you want to know that you're not wasting your time on something that sucks.
Exactly. I don't have that much time.
I think we are also good at looking a few layers deeper, just beyond the score of like, okay, well, if this got an iffy score, like, based on what I'm seeing, like, do I think I would still like it?
Right.
Like, I would never, I mean, unless a game's getting like, doo-doo level scores.
Like 40
like, I'm still open to playing it if it looks like something that's fun.
Yeah.
There are times where like the scores are a lot lower than I was expecting, and those can be surprising. But I'm not like just looking at a number and it's like, is this higher than 85? I won't play anything lower than 85. But I understand the point of this video, which is I think some people do have that mindset.
Right. I don't.
It's like, it's beneath me. I would never do that.
Yeah, I don't have the mindset of like it needs to be above like a certain score for me to consider playing it. The other thing that I like to do, and maybe this is unique to us, is I do look at who's writing the review because sometimes I know them personally and they know me. So if they're saying something in their review that resonates with me, I feel like, yes, like they know who I am and they like the kinds of things that I like. So if they give this game a good score, then that's a good sign, because we have like probably similar sensibilities.
Yeah.
It's like almost like you're asking your friend for a recommendation, that friend that knows you, versus just looking at like a bunch of strangers and a bunch of scores,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I do take a lot of, like I look at Metacritic, but I only look at like certain outlets and certain writers because I know who they are.
Yeah.
And I know that they have similar taste to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When we were at Nintendo, like we would always send out a report when the Metacritic score went live. People would always want to know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it did have a tangible impact. Like people knew, like if your game gets bad reviews, that's not going to be good for you, and trying to sell it. And it did become like another thing to talk about. Of like, hey, people love this game. It got a 90, whatever. Yeah. So there are specific reasons why those companies care a lot. I don't like, and I don't know how much this is still happening, but there was talk of studios where like the bonuses were tied to Metacritic scores. I think that sucks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like if your game gets over X, you get some bonus.
That feels icky.
I wouldn't want to put, like if you're like media, like I'm impacting this person's livelihood based on how I'm scoring this game, but beyond just how it sells. And
we talked to media before too about like the pressures
I think
of scoring
I think
something.
that sucks, yeah.
And it kind of sucks, like honestly.
Right,
like sometimes they're like, we feel like sometimes it's like, I can't believe people have this kind of like life or death reaction.
And like the reaction to the Starfield reviews was really over the top. And like people were freaking out before that game even came out, or they played it. It's like, this is not that serious, people.
Yeah. Pokemon reviews always get like the most crazy comments.
Right.
Like,
so I think there's a lot to this idea. And shout out to RGT for wearing Kiss shirts. I'm always
I like his videos a lot.
I was
too.
like a fellow Kiss fan.
Very honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Riven asks, so Nintendo just announced a live-action Zelda movie in the works. Would you, like me, have strongly preferred an animated movie instead of live action?
Yeah, I would.
The Ghibli example you had was the perfect example for me. That would be very cool.
Again, you would just have such a smaller hill to climb. Actually, instead of a live-action movie, instead of an animated movie, I would have loved an animated series.
Aha.
I think that would have been the way to go. But hey,
Could the world sustain Zelda movies and TV shows that are like separate things happening generally simultaneously?
Maybe the series can be animated, and the movie or the movie can be live action. But that's how we get our animated Zelda in.
That's interesting.
Maybe it's like a Toon Link kind of style versus the movie version is very real life, obviously real life, but like a little bit more of like the Twilight Princess style. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Okay. We have another Zelda question from Wario Tush. This opinion could get a bunch of rotten vegetables thrown at me, but I think the best bet any Zelda movie has of being good is if Link is a kid in it. Given that it's Sony, I'm assuming Link will be unfortunately played by Tom Holland. Who do you think it'll be? Not who do you want, but who or what kind of actor do you think Sony will ultimately go with? So Kid Link is an interesting question.
Do we think that it's going to be like the Ocarina of Time storyline, where it is very
Well, then you need two Links.
Two Links?
You're going to double the casting paranoia by having Kid and Adult Link?
Adult Link, yeah. Kid Link, how would you do that? Would that be Kid Zelda too then?
Yeah, so if you had Kid Link, what would the right age be for Kid Link?
14?
First of all, put some pants on that kid, step one.
Oh my gosh.
Step two, I can see like 14.
Like a tween.
Well, that's like 11.
Okay, I don't know of kids' ages.
I think 14 seems good.
Teen Link.
But not like, we want like post-puberty Link, right?
What's post-puberty? 16?
Come on!
14?
Work with me here.
12? Oh, like his voice is a little bit deeper now?
Right.
But, okay, that's not kid then.
So like the kid...
That's Teen Link.
The kid who did like young Anakin in episode 1, who was maybe like 10, I think.
Okay, 10.
That's a little too young, I think.
You think that's too young?
But that probably.
What about the little girl that was like the baby princess Leia?
Oh, she was even younger than that.
So that's too young. We think that's too young.
I mean, that's like you're in like now you have a whole other thing to worry about with child actors.
Right. What about Lady Marmont in Game of Thrones? That girl.
Oh, who is now in The Last of Us?
Right. How do you like her?
I don't remember how old she was.
Is she old enough?
I don't know.
Again, bad with kids' ages. I'm very bad. I don't know how old any kid is.
I think that's...
Kid Link we think is maybe too I don't know about Kid Link, but what about
teen
Link?
Yeah, like younger teen Link.
High school Link.
Not like 18.
Like 14. 14, 15, 16. High school Link.
You do want somebody who can kind of grow into this role, and not be like...
Oh, like Harry Potter.
Within 5 years, like, well, now they're too old.
This is like the Potter universe then. You want like Sorcerer's Stone all the way to Deathly Hallows, which is like literally that. It's like...
So how old were
he
they
was 11.
when they started and when they ended?
11 when he started, 19 when he ended.
Yeah, 11 I think is too young.
But that dynamic of like 11-year-olds figuring their stuff out, like
that could also help.
That could be kind of cool.
That could also help with the tone problem that we were talking about. It's like, well, they're kids. They're having fun,
Right. Their kids are figuring stuff out
versus like the Game of Thrones, like grizzled old man grumbling into a microphone.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I would not actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I would not dislike a Harry Potter comp to this, where it is like sort of you grow into it if you have multiple movies.
Yeah.
Like, what if you did do that? What if you had like 3 characters like a Zelda, Legend of Zelda version of like a Harry, a Hermione, and Ron, and you just had those 3 people just like all the way up to...
It's not like the games. We need a new Link in every movie. Recast every time. We go through that trauma every time. Who's the new Link? You got to hear him talk.
Who's the Daniel Radcliffe of...
2 out of 10. Fail.
Yeah, because then you would have to pair it with the right Zelda as well.
I'm out on this question now.
It's very complicated.
we went too deep into it.
Very complicated.
We have one more about Zelda movie. From Zroyd, hey Kit and Krysta, on the topic of the Zelda movie, much as always has been discussed on the specter of talking Link. It is probably a safe assumption that Link in the movie will be fully verbal. However, for years I've imagined how cool it would be if not only were Link mute, but if they were to cast a mute actor in the role as well. I think it would be such an awesome nod to the games while being a terrific way to showcase the talent of a person with a disability, which doesn't normally happen in a major motion pictures. Setting aside the likelihood of this occurring, how would you feel about a non-verbal Link in the movie? Would it work? And dare I say, do you think it could help lead to an even better film? So if you cast somebody who was actually like mute in real life, like that, and again, if you explain why, versus like, oh, he just doesn't like to talk, he's quiet. You need it needs to be addressed.
Right. There needs to be some way to address it.
Right.
And then I guess you would have to figure out the way to communicate. Is it with sign language? Is it with something else?
Right.
That needs to be addressed as well. Right.
So I started reading the comics for Echo, which is the next Marvel series that they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a Daredevil adjacent character, and I love Daredevil, so I wanted to read this before that show comes out. And that's an interesting way of like that character does have disabilities. That character is deaf, but kind of her power is that she can perfectly mimic any sort of like physical activity that she can see. So they're like, she can watch like an expert playing the piano, and it's like she can play the piano perfectly.
Right.
And they're like, that's actually how she learned how to speak. Like she watched how people speak, and then she can say those words and do it that way. So I think as long as you're not like dancing around it and you are giving a reason for why it is this way, I think everybody collectively is a bit more open to it versus how it is in the games where it's just never addressed.
Yeah.
Where it's like everybody else is talking and he's just standing around.
Yeah, but people interact with him. And
you
see him from the back, like making hand gestures, as if he is talking.
Exactly.
You just don't see his lips moving.
That's the approach that I don't think is going to fly.
That's my point.
Right.
I don't think that approach is
right.
The in-game approach is not going to fly.
Right. Build in a reason, make it clear so people know what it is. I still think it's more likely that he will speak, but again, there are ways to introduce.
There's obviously a thing that you have to address here, that they have to address here.
Yes.
They just need to do that well, and to your point, not dance around it, which I think is important.
Last question's from Vidgmictor. Recently, Jimmy Fallon had a segment on his show in which he raced with one of the members of the Roots in a level of the Mario Brothers Wonder game for the Nintendo Switch family of systems. Members of the audience received an OLED Switch with a copy of Wonder. However, unlike previous segments featuring Miyamoto-san or Reggie, no Nintendo rep was present, which made me wonder, no pun intended, if Nintendo was involved in the segment at all. As you two have stated, Nintendo doesn't seem to want to have any public figures to be seen as the face of their company anymore. Would the segment of The Tonight Show be a good example of that? Providing the audience with their own Switch OLED models might be a dead giveaway that Nintendo was involved, but I could also see an intern ordering a few hundred from various retailers and someone from NBC paying the bill without a second thought.
This is what we should call a paid integration. And yes, Nintendo was very much involved. Actually, it might have been the ad team that was involved in this versus the comms team. Because on the communications team, there's a lot of earned stuff that was done in terms of like these types of being on a talk show. In terms, you know, like how we did it before, the earned part of it is you get Reggie on and we show you a new level, but we don't have to pay for anything.
Giving away that many pieces of hardware is more than there would always be a lot of concern about giveaways.
Right. They don't like giveaways.
Of like, these are people who might eventually buy this. Are we sure we want to give this? That's a lot. So I tend to agree that this was part of some
ad buy
purchase.
Yeah.
That was made. Because oftentimes, like, we'll have a giveaway. It might be a game or something that's not the full value of a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not something that the Tonight Show is ever going to do on its own.
Right. This is somebody, you know, on the Nintendo side paid for this to be part of the Tonight Show. It's basically like an ad, like a paid advertisement. And the terms of the deal were that you play for a few seconds on the show, or a few minutes, and they have systems to give away to their audience.
Right. Like all of those Conan O'Brien Clueless Gamer, those are all paid.
Right.
We did one for Smash. I should tell that story sometime. With the Smash Brothers for Wii U Clueless Gamer that we did. That one was not paid, surprisingly. That was one where they editorially wanted to do it. But every other one of those
we used to do paid ones for the Ellen DeGeneres show when that existed. But that was exactly what this was. We would have it on stage. Ellen would play it for a few minutes, and then there'll be an audience giveaway. Yeah. Those were the terms.
Right. Nintendo also has someone who is very focused on these sort of late night opportunities, who is on the communications team. So I imagine they were working very closely to kind of manage the relationships and some of the logistics while, you know, the ad team is like actually dropping the money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's very little that these
big shows don't
do a lot on their own,
yeah,
and they certainly don't do it for free.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely not. Like everything that you see is paid.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And you would be shocked at how much planning goes into like what's ultimately like a 2-minute like throwaway segment.
Oh my god! And there's going to be so much like hand wringing too, because I'm sure inevitably like the game didn't look as good when two sort of casuals are playing it for the first time. I'm sure there was some chaotic stuff that happened. I didn't watch the segment. Some chaotic stuff that happened that led to a lot of hand wringing and
he didn't get the power up. He didn't show Elephant Mario. It was a
failure. It was a fail. He died 3 times. Oh no! Like it's gonna be that. So it's annoying and kind of not worth it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Them's the questions.
Wow. Let's shout out some amazing Patreon superstars, shall we?
Yes.
Aaron Hash.
Ben Eichhorn.
Maru Mayhem.
Eigenverse.
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin.
Roy Eschke.
Switching it up, _
Phazon.
VGM Life.
Link, the hero of wins.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LaBeouf.
Roberto Nieves.
Frederick Ulf Conradson.
Andrew Uhas.
Chili.
Bruce Dash.
And Rain Tech.
Yay. Okay, and now the One Up Club. Here we go. Aaron Burgundy.
Ale Alejandro.
AstroDev.
Awesome 46.
Bad Moon Horizon.
Ben GB.
Blue Yellow Gray.
Bookem Dano.
Bookishly Fab.
Brooke Obscura.
Brovac Novak.
Cameron.
Chelly Squirrel.
Christopher Lay.
Captain Alex.
Crimcat.
Roper 17.
Dachshund.
Doinko.
Dolce.
Dino Punch.
Elite Peach.
Sparts 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound.
Fernie and Jess Forever.
Fox Deploy.
Garrett Hullfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
G-Sun 101.
Heroic.
Ias Marin.
Jay Rando.
Jabroni Jones.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Just Camtro.
Justin Lemminger.
Kawa 2796.
Keith Kwan.
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo.
Krista Roddy Kid.
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Linnell Stickman.
Lex.
Lit.
Luminous.
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G and Callie Marie.
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Mikey.
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Palm.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
MSM Poke Gamer.
My Tran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Ninja 11.
Panda Buns.
Pangy.
Palsy Pace.
Paul Gale Network,
Prime Factor,
Prince Charmless,
Raver,
Ryeth One,
Rob Osborne,
Rox,
Rhinetta,
Sharif Jackson,
Sheer Cold Vanille,
Shinryu,
Slowbro,
Snazzle,
Spicy Munchkin,
Steel Citrone,
Sunny Gaduru,
Tales of Link,
Tech Magic,
Terra Storm,
The Shark Among Men,
Thomas Alvarez,
Three Rivers,
Topher Schmofer,
Torcheeks,
Travis Torline,
Trijawi,
Tugs Puppy Bear,
Tusku,
Tyler Geis,
Vezvez,
Video Game Stupid,
Viridian,
Virtual Bob,
Weeb Kingdom,
WG Grizzy,
Wicked Davy,
Will Johnson,
Zudaverf,
Zelgroth,
Zapani.
and Zoid.
Whoa, your Schnallo was especially fun too. we were reading the TGA nominations.
Right, it's like best esports,
best,
whatever.
And it was all names that sounded
might as well
like
be reading a Patreon list, yeah.
Like the esports stars are Pinky, Snazzle. You are all esports winners in our heart, guys. That's what it is. All right.
If you're watching this on video, you can go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave us a comment. If you are listening on audio, you can also subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and a written review if you please.
And don't forget to follow us on Patreon. We are Krysta. No, wow.
What?
We are.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, I really messed that
It finally
up.
happened.
It finally happened.
It's written right on this page.
Because I was supposed to go first, and then you were supposed to say that.
You just looked at me. Wow.
We are. Follow us on Patreon. Seriously, we are patreon.com/KitandKrysta. Also, we're on the socials. We're Kit and Krysta on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads. You messed me up. I'm mad at you now. We're gonna stop this podcast. You can't say anything else. Goodbye.